Hello, my creative friends. I'm Heather North from heatherscreativeblessings.com. I'm going to be showing you some coloring with Blendabilities and Copics. I started off with the Beauty of the Season stamp set from Stampin' Up! And a piece of Whisper White cardstock. It's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, but I'll end up trimming it down. I'm going to use the Memento Tuxedo Black ink to ink up my stamp. It's important to use an ink that doesn't bleed when you're using alcohol markers like Blendabilities and Copics, and Memento is perfect for that. I also used a Fisker stamp press. I like to use that when I've got larger images. I'm going to start by coloring the beak with the pumpkin pie blendability. I think I used just the lightest one there. And then I'm going to pull in a little bit of the cherry cobbler red to darken it up a bit. You see there I've got a piece of scrap paper. It's important to protect your work surface because these inks will bleed through. And I don't know if you can see there, but there's little orange dots all over. The ink was overfilled in my blendability, so when I pulled that cap apart, I got ink splattered all over. I'm going to end up fixing that a little bit later on. You'll see in the video. So it doesn't really matter, but it was a frustration I had. Here I have the cherry cobbler blendabilities again. I believe this is the lightest color. And I'm just coloring in the entire bird. And then I'm going to come in with the darkest color. And I'm just coloring in wherever they have black lines from the stamp. I figure the artist knows best who designed this, so that's what I use. And I'm just doing little brush strokes to kind of mimic the feather. Then I'll take the medium shade and I'll start blending each of those out a little bit more. Now I'm coming back in with my lightest shade and just blending it out even further. I googled pictures of cardinals to see how they looked, and they had this, most of them had this black kind of around their face. So I pulled in the Copic 110 marker. It's a nice black for that mask. And here I have a Copic E77, and you can see it blends very well with the Stampin' Up! Blendabilities. I thought my bird needed some more shadows and definition of its feathers. Now I'm going to take the lightest color, cherry cobbler again, and blend the whole thing together. By adding more red on top of that brown Copic, it makes the brown look more like a red shadow. I'm just going to grab one of the cherry cobbler markers and fill in all those little berries. You can switch it up and do different colors on different berries. The berries are really small, so I don't really try and do too much shading. These markers have 2 tips, so I switched from the brush tip to the bullet tip, and that made it much easier to fill in the dots. For my winter branch, I went ahead with a smoky slate instead of a white or a brown. And I'm just going to come in with the lightest and fill in all the little branches and twigs coming off. And then I'll take darker ones and fill in where there's little dark lines and also where the branches and stems meet. A little tip for closing the blendabilities is to lay the cap and the marker right on your tabletop and push them together. So here is that darker color. I'm coming in and just filling in, like I said, where the artist drew in darker lines and then along the bottom of the branch. This image was actually colored back in August when I was working on a very trendy holiday 2.0. And I wasn't too sure about that really dark blendability Coastal Cabana, So I decided to play it safe and pull in the BG0000 4 zeros. And I got started and remembered that I had that pumpkin pie. So here I have a colorless blender, I think is what Stampin' Up! Calls it. It's basically a color mover, kind of like an eraser. And I took that, and that removed a lot of it. And then I ended up coloring over the whole thing so you don't even see it. After I finished coloring with that, I decided it's too light. So I just took the Coastal Cabana and I'm coloring in the entire background again. If I were to do this again, I would skip that BG0000 and just start out with the Coastal Cabana. The background is a little bit mottled looking, but I kind of like that look. It reminds me of a winter day with just a little bit of wispy clouds in the sky. It will smooth out a little bit over time, but you'll see with this next step, you don't even notice it. What I've done here is I'm taking my different shades of the Coastal Cabana ink and I'm just putting little dots all around the outside of the image. And then I'll also take that color lifter and lift a little bit of color and have some white dots. And it reminds me a little bit of snow. Here I've also taken the smoky slate. So just a little bit of that light gray in there. I love all the fonts in this particular stamp set. It's called Beauty of the Season from Penny Black. I'm just going to take one of them, and underneath my craft mat is my grid mat, and it's hard to see in the video, but I am lining that up with the lines of the grid mat because you can kind of see through it in person. And then I'll pick it up with my clear block, and I'm going to ink up my stamp with VersaFine Black Onyx ink. It's a really nice ink for clear photopolymer stamps, but it takes a long time to dry. So what I did was I just took some clear embossing powder from Stampin' Up! And I put it over that VersaFine, and then I'm heat setting it with my heat tool. To finish this card up, I just cut that panel down a little bit. I'm using Stampin' Up's Fast Fuse. It's a really strong adhesive because it got a little bit warped. And by using that strong adhesive all the way around, it gives it a flat surface. So I matted it in black and then onto a smoky slate card base. As you can see in this close-up, the Blendabilities and Copics do blend beautifully together. So if you're brand new to alcohol markers and want to give it a try, the Blendabilities are a great place to start, and you can always build with the Copics later if you choose. It's Cyber Monday today, and Stampin' Up! Is having a huge sale, including their Blendabilities. So go check out your demonstrator's website. I am a demonstrator, so if you don't have one, check out my links below. If you like this card, be sure and click the like button. And if you'd like to see more cards like this from me, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you find some time today to get creative. Bye!